Welcome to Strange Gossip. I'm Catherine.
And I'm Taylor, and this is going to be like your friend's take on the weird.
Because we're tired of real life problems and want to talk about spooky shit.
Absolutely. Welcome to episode 1. We've made it, you guys. We did, full transparency, record this about a week ago, and the audio was all static.
Because the government was onto us and didn't want us to share our stories. Let's just say that. Let's just say it now.
Just get it out there. The aliens were not impressed. They said we did not represent them well. So we're back again.
We got feedback from the aliens, and they're like, you could do better, girl.
Like, absolutely not. That's a big fat no for me.
Well, welcome to the podcast. We're so excited to have you here. Basically, Taylor and I are going to be talking through all kinds of stories of the paranormal and UFOs.
Yes. We have about 7 topics that are going to come up through these episodes. And so those topics are aliens and UFOs, paranormal, cryptids, conspiracy theories, superstitions, uncomfy truths, and the general weird. So if you like any of those 7 topics, definitely be sure to tune in. We'll have a new topic each episode, girl. And so today we're definitely going to be talking about aliens and UFOs.
And also just a bit about us, your hosts. Taylor and I have been friends since we were in diapers, just lifelong friends that have always been interested in the spooky things and a really, really good story. So it's so fun to kind of take what we normally do as it is and what we've always done, but kind of put it into a medium and be able to kind of connect and share with you all.
Yeah, absolutely. My coworkers are starting to call me weird. They're like, girl, it's a bit too much. So I am here to get it out with people that are on the same page.
So we're going to keep it here. And it's kind of that thing too that's like, you know, as we get older, life becomes more and more talking about your husband, your mortgage, your jobs. And it's like all that stuff is great. And I'm sure we're going to talk about a lot of those things too and like our lives and just regular gossip and drama. But I think we just want to be able to talk about something else, something different, and something we're really passionate about. So we're excited to be here and talking with you all.
We're going to talk about aliens.
Yay!
So let's get into the old and new aliens.
Let's do it, baby.
Oh, but first, do we want to go over current topics, things that are going on in the world?
Do you have a current topic for us today, Taylor?
I might have a personal current topic.
Oh, girl, get into it. I'm so excited to hear this.
Okay, so check this out. This happened literally last week. We got back from dinner. It's a Sunday night, okay? We're walking the dog. It's 10 p.m. Okay. We're walking. The neighbors come outside, and I recently heard that one of the houses in the neighborhood had turned into an Airbnb. Okay. To give you context, I live in a neighborhood that is very like 50 plus are the residents here, okay? Nobody's turning their house into an Airbnb. It's all homeowners, whatever. So we're walking down, and I catch up with the neighbors that are right next door to the Airbnb, and they're like, it's been so loud. They allow like 24 plus people in there. Like, we've complained, all this crazy stuff. So I'm like, you let me know if you need anything, blah, blah. I'm thinking house parties, right? Like, I'm thinking we're kind of close to UCSD. It's probably maybe kids. So we walk the dog, we turn around, we're walking past the Airbnb again. And all I hear is someone preaching, and then I hear sacrifice. And Trent and I look at each other, my husband and I, and we're like, are we like really hearing this right now? So I bust out my phone and start recording, because you'll hear later in this podcast, you got to record it, okay? If you want me to believe it. So I recorded it. You actually can't really hear him like preaching. You can hear his voice, but you can't really hear what he's talking about. And I got kind of creeped out. To me, it sounded like a cult. Like, are they summoning the devil in my neighborhood? Because I'm going to be really upset.
Girl, you need to move. We need to get you out of there.
Like, what if like at 10 o'clock at night, and there's like a ton, and then like through the window, I just saw like bunk beds, like a ton of bunk beds in this tiny room. And I'm like, and they allow 25 occupants in this freaking Airbnb? That's crazy.
And if it's a sacrificing cult party, you know they're not keeping it to 25. They don't care. They're too busy. They're too busy.
There were cars everywhere down the street. I was like, what is going on? Anyway, but yeah, I heard the guy say sacrifice, very preachy. I almost, like, at first, truthfully, I thought there was an argument going on in there. And I was like, ooh, listen. And then I heard him preaching, and then I heard the sacrifice, and I was like,
good time to go.
And it wasn't like God, like it wasn't like godly preaching.
Like a Sunday
it was, like,
sermon.
Very weird, like very strange. So I'll keep you updated on that. Hopefully the cult comes back and I can get more footage. Or hopefully they don't. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it.
That sums up us so well. Like, hopefully they come back so I can get more.
I know. Hey, Colt, come back to my neighborhood. I want to like check this out.
I'm a little nosy. What's the goss, Colty? What's the goss? Tell us, who are you sacrificing this week?
Knock on the door. Let me in. Hello. I'd like to join the cult.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. All right.
I know.
That's the perfect current event.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we get into it?
Let's get into it. All right, so I want to get into the first topic, and this one is new aliens. We're going to get into the old with Catherine a little bit later, but there's been a story that's kind of been going a little bit viral recently about the body camera UFO / aliens in the backyard. So want to talk about this. This happened in Las Vegas on May 1st at around midnight. There is a video out there of Angel, who's actually one of the eyewitnesses. He made a YouTube video about his experience and really kind of put the timeline together really well. So I'm going to go over that. You're going to get snippets of the evidence here. But if you do want to go watch that in full, highly recommend. We'll link that in the channel. I don't know. It's not a channel description. I'm used to YouTube. Okay. The show notes. But I'm going to go ahead and jump into this, and then we're going to get into some discussion after the fact. So Angel starts off the video saying he's going to explain what happened to him that night, and that this is not a conspiracy theory, and this is not a story that he's made up. He was fixing a truck in his backyard around midnight when his brother and him heard something fall from the sky. He states that when he turned around, he saw a big light and then felt and heard a large impact after. Angel says when he tried to look at the object, it was blurry. He clarifies that it wasn't his vision that was blurry, but the backyard area. He goes on to say he heard 1,000 footsteps around him, and then a few seconds later, the blurriness was gone. Angel says that this is the same light that he saw fall from the sky. So we're going to go ahead and insert the first body camera footage showing the UFO. And so Angel inserts a video also of a Ring camera that captured a bang in his neighborhood. More on this later, but we'll go ahead and insert the Ring footage here. He said when this all happened, the only thing he could see was a tall creature in his backyard, around 8 to 10 feet tall and very thin. He then calls his dad, who came to the backyard and saw the same creature. The family went inside the house and were starting to freak out. They later came out to investigate, and here's the footage. To me, they look generally freaked out. I also noticed the kids are packing heat, which, welcome to Vegas, I guess. But they do seem pretty genuinely weirded out by whatever's going on back there. Angel says that after that video was taken, he and his brother went to retrieve their tools from the backyard. His brother went behind the tractor to grab the tools and called Angel to say that the alien was back there and to look behind the forklift. This is when Angel went on to say that he saw the alien again and said he was a gray-greenish color. He says his body froze like a form of sleep paralysis while staring at the alien. Very weird. He said he had weird-looking feet and a big face and eyes, as well as a big mouth, with loud breathing, which moved and descended his stomach. Seconds later, he could move again, and he ran for the house. This is when he made the call to 911. We're going to go ahead and insert the 911 call footage.
There's like an 8-foot person beside it, and another one beside it, and it has big eyes and looking at us, and it's still there.
Okay, where is this on your property?
In my backyard. I swear to God, this is not a joke. This is actually we're terrified of it.
So there's two people or two subjects that are in your backyard?
Correct, and they're very large. They're like 8 foot, 9 feet, 10 foot. I don't know. They look like aliens to us. Big eyes. They have big eyes.
Okay.
Like I can't explain it. And big mouth. They're shiny eyes and they're not human. They're 100% they're not human.
Okay.
The last okay by the dispatcher is so relatable. Like, I have said that exact okay at work many a times. Okay.
You could tell she's like, I don't get paid enough for aliens. This ain't it.
She's like, I'm not dispatching anybody. Anyway, so as he was waiting for the police to come, he said that he could hear footsteps in the backyard area and something like loud whispering. The family was in the living room area, and Angel says they heard footsteps on the roof. I don't know about you, but I'm getting like Signs vibes right now. Like alien reflection in the TV, ate the family dog in the backyard. It's
I'm
bizarre.
also slightly getting Santa. Like footsteps on the
What is it? Isn't it Krampus? Krampus is the creepy
it an
Santa.
alien? Is it Santa?
Is it Santa?
Is it Krampus? Could you imagine? There's these aliens that have been trying to get to us like every year. And so for consistency, they keep coming on Christmas, but everyone assumes it's Santa.
It's literally the
but
reindeer.
It's just some really aliens that are just like, no, we're trying to get through to you.
Girl.
Okay.
Bad.
Is it Santa on the roof or is it an alien? We don't know.
I'm going to guess alien. Okay. Then the video goes on to show the body camera footage of the officer when he arrived to the residence. So we're going to insert that second body camera footage.
It's more than an hour after that bright light. Officers meeting up with the caller and his family.
What'd you see?
It was like a big creature.
A big creature?
Yeah, like around 10 feet tall.
I'm not going to BS you guys. One of my partners said they saw something fall out of the sky too, so that's why I'm kind of curious. Did you see anything land in your backyard? Or?
They see like a big, that's what they say. They see like a big something with light.
Angel says when the officers went into the backyard, conveniently, Las Vegas PD blacked out this part for privacy reasons. They saw a large indented circle. We'll go ahead and insert that photo. The next video is showing the officer asking others in the neighborhood if they saw anything. I'm going to insert the third body camera footage here.
Hey, this might sound like a really dumb question, but did you guys see anything fall out of the sky?
Asking others what they saw.
I would normally discount it as nothing. However, seeing as one of my partners said they saw it too, only reason I'm actually investigating it further.
When the officers left, he says the family went to the house to pray, and then they heard a loud human-like scream in the backyard. Angel wraps it up by saying he's going to make a part 2 for things that happened after May 1st, and that this video is going to come out in the coming weeks. So far, it's been 3 weeks, and we haven't seen anything. So let's get into this because I have a lot of questions, a lot of things coming up for me. Most of the coverage I've actually found on this has come out like a month plus later. So it's happened in May and I haven't started seeing things until, June. And I also haven't been able to track down the first source. So originally like news and everything was saying, Las Vegas PD released this body camera footage. I don't see where they released it. It's definitely not on their Twitter. It's pretty inactive. But I'm assuming the family probably came out with it first. Another thing that caught me right off the bat was the UFO light was kind of like blue-green in that body camera footage. And I was thinking, wouldn't a meteor be white or orange? So I actually looked into this, and meteors can be different colors depending on their composition. So for instance, magnesium would make a meteor blue and cyanide would make it green.
That's a little science up in here. I love it.
A little research. Okay, girl.
Okay. Come through research. Come through meteor.
Here's the other thing about the meteor thing, though, because this flash was reportedly seen in California, Nevada, and Utah. So that's a pretty wide area to see a UFO go down, but it's possible. It also is possible it could be a meteor. I don't know. But the first 911 call came in from Angel 40 minutes after that flash, which kind of makes sense with his story and when he called. The ring footage, though, from the same neighborhood that records that sound of a large crash, that's actually been debunked. They're saying that was from April. And I'm just like, sir, and the neighbor said it was from a different fireball incident falling out of the sky. Sir, how many fireball instances do you have in this neighborhood? I just have to know.
Seriously, how often?
Like a month? every month? I don't understand. It's really upsetting though, because I thought like the body camera footage, the ring capture, and eyewitness all kind of made sense. And now that we're kind of losing the ring, the body camera footage could be explained as a meteor. So we're really kind of relying on eyewitness account, which is kind of a bummer. I thought that the cop was interesting too, because a lot of what he was like, a lot of his topics or what he was saying to them was, oh, I'm interested because my partner said they saw something fall from the sky. I do find it weird that he was like, oh, I would have totally ignored this. Obviously, I feel like if his partner didn't capture that, it would have been totally written off. Like, these people are insane. We're not even going to look into it. What bothered me, though, about the body camera footage is that they blacked out the backyard, but showed the front yard. Now, I've seen a lot of body camera footage, and for privacy reasons, I can understand, but you literally showed the front of the house. Everybody is pretty aware. Why would you black out the backyard? It's just, it kind of weirds me out. I feel like that's what everybody wants to see out of this body camera footage, and now it's not available. Very weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't love that.
Yeah, but it's an interesting point, because I think what's so fascinating about this story is you're right. You have your three main like key, like visuals, or evidence. There's the word high.
Yeah.
You have the eyewitness account, the police officer, and then that Ring doorbell, and all together it really does make sense. But then once you start kind of picking apart one of them, it kind of makes it harder to kind of follow through with the other ones. But at the same time, it's like, you see staged videos all the time on the internet, but like to take it so far to actually have a police officer come to your house, like that's a little bit too far. Like that's not really a joke or like a TikTok fake video. That's kind of like, okay, you're getting the police involved. Like you'd possibly face a fine of calling these people out, right? So you have the police officer showing up. On top of that, he says his partner saw something, and local news is reporting on this. Like it's just not on just the internet, because I think my instinct is like, okay, funny story. This guy got his family into the bit, game over. But like to get the police involved, and then enough so that the local news outlets felt like they wanted to cover it. Like it's odd. It's an odd one for sure. It's interesting.
I know. I agree. Like my first instinct is never to kind of like discredit people, because I have seen things that if I were to talk to you about it, you would never believe me. But that's where I think that like video evidence or photographic evidence is so important nowadays, especially because there's no excuse. Like someone's got to take one for the team and go get the camera. Like I've been in that situation. I've seen a UFO with Trent and I'm like, I'm going to go take one for the team and grab my camera. And now if I tell that story and I back it up with my footage, it's like, you can't really tell me that didn't happen, because now you're seeing it, So that is one thing about this story where I'm like, if the alien was in your backyard for 40 minutes plus, how did you not capture it? And they do think that they, like the tractor video, some people said that they saw it. I personally don't see it, like not enough. Like you would have to be like up in the alien's face for me to be like, yeah, it's alien. So it's just weird. Like this totally could have absolutely happened to them. I feel like I don't have enough evidence for me to like make a definitive yes or no. I think it would be really hard if this were to be a hoax. They would have to have seen the meteor go down, said, we're going to enact our hoax right now, and then called 911 and possibly faced the fine. And then they didn't know it was captured on body cam, and they didn't know about the Ring footage either. It's not, I don't know. It seems like a lot to line up for this to really work well.
For sure.
So it's
a lot. It's not, I mean, it's a great story. It's a great story. Yeah. But totally to your point for like, I don't know. I'm so hung up on the police getting involved. That's just like, that's either their friend is in the police and they were like, we're going to hoax everyone. I just feel like there's laws and you're going to risk a fine like that. You're not going to do that for internet fame. Well, people might, but I don't. This is a lot.
But another big question that I think is really important is, where is the wreckage? Like where you said the UFO crashed in your backyard, where to go? And that's what's really interesting about his story is he says there's 1,000 footsteps he hears and everything goes blurry. So do we think, like I was talking to my husband about it, I'm like, well, what do you think would have happened? Like, where do you think it went? He's like, maybe they have some type of cloaking ability and the UFO went invisible, which, listen, maybe, but then wouldn't you run into it? You know what I mean? Like even if it's like even if it's invisible, would you just like slam into it like a glass door or something? Like it just doesn't make sense. There was also some account from the family that they saw black SUVs driving around, like Men in Black style, with sunglasses on at like 12 o'clock at night, driving around the neighborhood.
Okay, but who was driving? I hope they didn't have sunglasses on.
I don't know. Listen, but my thing is like, okay, they think so. Are they claiming that the SUV picked up the wreckage? Because girl, I picked up a coffee table like a couple weeks ago from OfferUp, and that shit barely fit in the back of my SUV. So I'm pretty paused. There's no UFO back there.
For sure. Unless the aliens are just calling the FBI Uber. Like they actually are homies now. And like they just don't let us know. But they're like, hey boo, like
come pick up my shit.
I crashed again. Can you just like get me a ride back? Thank you so much.
No, well, and then where are the aliens too? You know, like where did they go? They're just hanging out back there? Or do they phone home and they're like, hey mom, I crashed a UFO, come pick me up? Or like what is the plan?
Okay, question for you. So because he said in the beginning of the video that there were thousands of footsteps, but like when we're talking about how many they actually saw, it sounds like they only saw like 2. So were both of them just like tap dancing really fast and like
I don't know. Or they called backup and like thousands of aliens came down and were like, let's pick this stuff up. I don't know. And in the matter of seconds, too. I just don't. Maybe his ears were ringing. Because you got to imagine, like, that's a large, like, really loud crash in your backyard. Your ears would be ringing. But to say they were footsteps is interesting.
Yeah,
so,
that's a good point. Like, not to discredit that, because who knows? And, like, we've spoken before about like different dimensional creatures and like if aliens fall into that category, they
could just wormhole in
time and space. Those rules kind of go flying out the window. But I don't know. I'm kind of stuck on the vision of 2 aliens just tap dancing very, very fast.
I love that too. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. We crashed. We danced. We're partying.
Don't judge
Vegas,
me right now.
They're on the strip afterward. They're doing some roulette. They're on it.
They're having a great time. Oh my God. Well, Angel took to TikTok to answer some questions and stated that the breathing sounds they made were like dogs growling. He also went on to say that they had a lot of teeth, like canine teeth. And he said they were attempting to hide from them, which I think could make sense. Like if an alien landed in the backyard amongst humans, it would probably be hiding. The growling, like that's bizarre.
Yeah.
And canine teeth. Like usually aliens, we hear about the slit mouth, like the Greys, if we're thinking the Greys, because they're tall, slender. Are the Greys tall? Are they short?
Ooh, okay. Well, we'll kind of get into this with Roswell too,
research.
But I think we get a little bit of everything. We definitely consistently get big heads, big eyes, but Roswell, which spoiler alert for later, they're smaller, so I don't know. But to your point too, like if we're going into like the dimensional realm, like tall gives me Slenderman vibes. Like I kind of get
totally does.
Like big tall creatures that you can't really make out, and like we'd have to dive into we'll cover Slenderman on another episode for sure, but I definitely feel like there's also talks about that paralysis and all of those things too.
It is interesting, the sleep paralysis kind of vibe, because in our next episode I have something about that too. So I don't know, they're all kind of connecting in a weird way.
By the end of this podcast, we just solve every paranormal mystery. Crush it.
We are going to find out what's going on. Don't worry about it. We're on it.
Keep listening as we solve life's mysteries.
Yeah, no kidding. Bigfoot relates to Slenderman and to aliens and this, and there's a wormhole here. I don't know if we're going to get that far, but that'd be great.
Stay tuned and find out.
To wrap this story up, there's currently no statement from Las Vegas PD. I saw some sources say that they closed this with unfounded status, but they came back to the house several days following the incident. My guess is they probably don't want to draw any more attention to this, giving a statement yes or no, so they probably just said unfounded. Yeah. The teenager Angel that was heard in the 911 call and had the video took to TikTok to ask for privacy, and I quote, "I already said what I had to say, and if If you want to believe it, believe it. I don't care no more. And just move on, guys. Forget about it and just bye. And sir, I feel that. Just bye.
Bye.
I saw an alien. I have like very little evidence. Bye. I do find it funny. I do kind of feel bad for them. I'm sure they're getting inundated. But I did find that funny.
I do too. I love that. But it's also a good point too, right? Of like, you know, it'd be one thing if he was trying to become a very famous TikTok influencer or a social media influencer from this.
wave.
And the fact that he's kind of like, hey, this is it. This is my experience. Take it or leave it. I'm out. Is also kind of like, okay, like this is, again, going back to our conversation, it's a lot of effort to kind of then just leave it on the table if you were trying to make this like a viral video or, you know, whatever you're looking to do.
That's true. I mean, he does have his YouTube channel, which is Alien Society 51 for anyone interested. That is another thing that I didn't really talk about. They are pretty close to Area 51, so maybe that has something to do with it. But he has done like a couple of TikToks and also some kind of like interviews. I don't know why I lost that word, but interviews. And so a little bit, but he's not going full hard into the social media thing. So you maybe are right that he's just kind of trying to get his story out there a little bit. I'm sure he was pressured to do a lot of interviews and things too. So definitely interesting. But I do have some comments that I found that were funny while I was doing some research. And so the first one is on the YouTube video of the third body camera footage of the officer going up to the neighbors. It says, "It's all fun and games, but imagine driving home in your car and getting approached by a cop who warns you about a UFO sighting and possible 9-foot-tall entities running around in your neighborhood and getting sent into the night with that."
Yeah,
It's
pass
so
them out
true.
of there.
Hey, just like keep an eye out for the aliens, you know? Like if they end up in your backyard, just ring us.
Just let us know.
I don't know. I would be so interested. I'd be like, oh, I'm joining in right now. Like, what do you mean? I'm going into the backyard. Like, you can't, like, I'm not driving away.
I love that. You already have like a kit in the back of this, like your back seat.
Yes,
as a
ready to go.
flashlight, recorder.
World Star Phone. That leads into the next one. I was on Twitter and Nathan DS said, "The more I hear about this story, the more elaborate it becomes. Perhaps I'm in the minority, but if aliens ever showed up in my backyard looking for intelligent life, I must sorely disappoint. 4K cammed up and introducing myself loudly as World Star is how it's going down." Sir, amen. Abso-freaking-lutely. Always film everything, everyone. It's just too good. It's just too good.
Yeah. Yeah, it is fascinating. Because we do like, I've been in so many situations where I needed to film something and I've just froze up and not done it. So I hear it. Like, I know that happens. But man, you would think like modern day, it's like, you're ready to go.
You just have it. You're good to go.
You got 4K on your phone, baby.
I know.
Wow.
So that's my story. I still have thoughts. I still kind of want to see if anything else comes out about it, but very interesting. The latest aliens, like actually seeing aliens in a long time.
Recent too.
So, I know. Very recent.
Interesting. Thank you, Taylor. Great story.
Thanks.
Definitely have to, if he posts that part 2 on YouTube, you have to cover it. And
Oh,
give
we'll
us
follow up.
The full update.
100%. I want to hear what happened after May 1st because
Yeah.
he teased some things might have happened. So
For sure.
could be interesting.
So it's funny that you took on a newer case because I decided to throw it back and do one of the most iconic alien stories of all time. I'm taking you to Roswell.
Ooh, girl. I'm so excited.
It is.
I actually haven't looked into Roswell very much. And so, because I just kind of write it off as like, oh, everybody knows Roswell, you know, and like you don't look into like the details. So I'm excited to see what you have.
Yeah, I'm so excited. That is kind of it. We all kind of know the name Roswell. We know kind of the basics, but there's so much here and there's so much to dive into. So buckle in, babies. We're going there.
We're going to crash our UFO right now.
And then we're going to hit up the Vegas Strip.
Yeah, we are.
All right. So Roswell is very near and dear to my heart for multiple reasons. I mean, I just love a good alien story as it is, and it really is one of the most iconic. But I've actually been to Roswell, and I've been to their UFO festival. And what's so fun about going to the place that this happened at, you get to meet a lot of locals with their own ties to the story, whether they have like a grandparent that's always lived there that remembers when that was going on, or there's also a bunch of people that had moved to Roswell because they were really fascinated in the case. And I think it's exciting when you already want to nerd out and, typically it's just you and I talking about these things. And so it's fun to kind of go to a space where everyone wants to talk about these things. I will also say one of my best memories there wasn't even about the Roswell incident. It was actually talking to someone that worked at one of the UFO exhibits, and he's actually a Bigfoot hunter. Like, he'll go on hunts for like a couple weeks at a time to like camp out and get footage and audio recordings of Bigfoot, multiple Bigfoots. Probably Sasquatch. They're probably saying Sasquatch.
No, Sasquatches.
Sasquatches. But we're going to go with big feets.
Wait. So does this guy have actual like video evidence of a Sasquatch?
Well, I don't think he has footage. I think that'd be all over the news at this point. But he does have a ton of audio recordings. And I think he's recorded like different signs of Sasquatch in nature. So I think in bushes and in just marks that a Sasquatch has been there.
Interesting.
So I definitely, fingers crossed, my goal would be to have him come on the pod and we'll just interview him for an episode, because
I would love that.
I connected with him. I have his YouTube. I know where to find the footage. So I think he would be really fun to kind of like talk through. And, in my dream of dreams, one day you and I would go on a Sasquatch hunting trip.
Yes. That would be amazing. I'm so down.
Fun.
Like, this guy needs to come on. We do need to actually go Sasquatch hunting. I want to see his evidence. 100%.
Could you imagine? I think it'd be great. So definitely, want to get him on the pod, and that's one of my favorite cryptids. So,
Love it.
And I'll talk about another like interdimensional being. I feel like Bigfoot is kind of like always also on that list. So we'll definitely get that going. But Roswell, we're here for Roswell. Time to dive into one of the most famous alien UFO stories of all time.
Ooh, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Also, full disclosure, I did my best to research this topic fully. However, there's a lot of conflicting information. So just know I did my best. I did my best, guys. There's a lot of names. There's a lot of places. There's a lot of things. I did my best.
Listen, we're not here to hold you to it. We're here to gossip. So
Thanks, babe. Yeah. All right. Let me take you back to the summer of 1947. For context, World War II ended 2 years prior, Truman's in office, and the Cold War was just beginning. The threat of nuclear war was on everyone's mind. Hiroshima was only a couple years prior. It's a very scary time that caused a lot of anxiety, and I feel like there can be a whole other episode like dedicated to nuclear anxiety and the effects its effects on society. But Roswell, we're here for Roswell. Anyway, summer 1947, Roswell, a tiny town in New Mexico with a population of somewhere around 25,000. Now, full disclosure, I found this number on a 1950 census, so give or take a little bit. I'm not sure if Roswell happened and then tons more people moved there, but I think we can gather that it was still a pretty small town at the time. Yet one of the largest strategic air command bomber bases in the country was there, the Roswell Army Airfield. Now, pin that in your brain because we're going to come back to that. One morning in early July, rancher Mac Brazel went out to check on his sheep after a particularly violent thunderstorm. He discovered strange debris spread across the land. He didn't think much of it and pushed most of it to the side. He had found weather balloons in the past before, and although this didn't remind him of those, he wasn't concerned. It wasn't until that weekend when he went into town and started hearing reports of flying discs that made him second-guess his discovery. That Monday, July 7th, he drove the debris to Roswell to give it to the sheriff. July 7th is also my birthday, not that anyone's asking.
Woo woo.
Thanks. Now, the gossip that Brazel the rancher heard about the flying discs is now known as the 1947 flying disc craze. It began June 24th when pilot Kenneth Arnold shared with the media his story of witnessing unidentified flying disc-shaped objects in Washington. Over the next 2 weeks, hi, Roswell, hello, hundreds, if not thousands, of similar reports came in. Whether it was attention seekers, mass hysteria, actual aliens, we have no idea. There's so much here to dive into, and maybe this could be its own episode alone, just going through all the different reports.
Yeah.
You let me know if you want to hear more about this craze. I think it's really, really fascinating because this was really I mean, thousands of sightings within a couple week period is really wild. I didn't really know that that was going on while Roswell was happening. So, and all different parts of the country too.
Mass hysteria is always interesting. So
Also a fun one. We can again, a whole,
there's so many things.
So many things. Back to Brazil. It's Monday, July 7th, my birthday, but 1947. He gives the debris to the sheriff, George Wilcox. Maybe he thinks he's overreacting. Maybe he's now convinced of the flying discs theory. Who knows? But the sheriff didn't know what to make of the strange material. So he decided to call his go-to, Colonel William Butch Blanchard, the commanding officer of the Roswell Army Airfield.
there it is.
Boom. I feel like, did you ever watch Pee-wee's Playhouse?
No, what is that?
Oh my gosh, girl, you need to get on it. It was like on the 90s. It was Pee Wee Herman's show, basically.
Oh.
And they would have a secret word of the day. And if someone says it, everyone would scream. So I feel like
Nailed it.
the secret code of the day is the Roswell Army Airfield.
Love it.
Yay! And everyone's supposed to start screaming. And that's how that works. If you have not watched that show, highly recommend it. It's a classic. It's so good.
Perfect.
So calls the commanding officer of the Roswell Army Airfield. The colonel isn't sure about it either. Like, they all can't really make heads or tails of this debris. So he decided to contact his superior, the general, and also decides to send out an intelligence officer, Major Jesse Marcel, to investigate the area.
Interesting.
So no one's really knowing what to do. And the colonel's like, I'm going to call my boss and hey, you go, check it out.
Yeah.
Major Marcel, the intelligence officer, who was extremely well versed in all kinds of materials and weapons, investigated and reported back to the colonel. Based on his findings, Colonel Blanchard ordered First Lieutenant Walter Hall, the public information officer, to draft an immediate press release. The Roswell Army Airfield had captured a flying saucer.
Ballsy to put it out there.
He's like, done.
This is news.
Check,
This
baby.
is the tea, honey.
We did it. We did it.
Interesting. Okay.
All right, Taylor, how are you feeling? Do you think they're onto something?
I just need to know a little bit more about what this like crash site looked like, what the materials were. But his initial response of "we caught a UFO" is definitely like pretty telling.
Ballsy.
Yeah. You would think in his mind, he's like, he looked at the crash site and was like, this has to be a UFO. Otherwise, if he was pretty aware of what like a weather balloon looked like, he would have been like, that's a weather balloon.
Exactly.
Maybe he wanted to hop on the hype, though, because you're saying there's thousands of reports. Maybe he was like, this is our chance.
This is a good time to kind of get our
name out
time
there.
in the spotlight. That's true. And I think that's what's really fascinating about this. It's like you have you have more people now involved. You have the rancher, you have the sheriff, you have the colonel, you have the intelligence officer that went to the scene. Like, you have a lot of people looking at this and a lot of military people looking at this.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're so quick to rush to it is fascinating. You're like, okay, what?
Interesting.
It's wild that they would immediately go in this direction.
Yeah, I agree.
Jumping back in, Roswell was on one. Citizens were jamming up the sheriff's telephone lines trying to find out more information. Everyone was talking about this. As the worry, panic, excitement starts to arise, the colonel's superior, General Ramey, steps in and immediately dismisses the flying saucer claims. By the next morning, the Army officially takes back its original flying saucer statement and admits it's nothing more than a weather balloon.
Rude.
Not only that, everyone involved in the incident takes back their original statements, admits it's a weather balloon, and for the most part, all go quiet. Even Major Marcel, the first to thoroughly examine the site that caused the colonel to create the first press release to begin with, he poses next to the debris for the press to kind of like show a photo of it. Mm-hmm. And it's made out to be nothing more than common weather balloon materials. Rancher Mac Brazel states in the new article that the wreckage consisted of rubber strips, tin foil, sticks, a rather tough paper, and tape. And that's it, at least for a little while.
Is that how they make weather balloons? Because, girl, it sounds like that's how they make companies in America. But
barely hanging on with that tape, girl.
They're just sticks and tape at this point. But I don't feel like weather balloons are made out of that.
That's what they
Unless
said.
they were back in the day. They're just like, throw it up there. I don't know.
Well, I think what's fascinating is that the first article comes out and they're like, we got a flying disc, baby. We've got it.
Yeah.
We got this huge discovery. And then immediately they changed their mind and they're like, just kidding. It was like rubber and some tin foil and blah.
Like those are so obvious objects that you would have looked at them and known.
Yeah. Why would the rancher even think to give this to the sheriff to begin with if it was
Especially because he said that he's had weather balloons fall in his yard before. So wouldn't you know?
And he would have. He already had found weather balloons in the past on his land.
This is the drama.
This is the drama.
Is the drama.
This is like you find out a really, really good secret and then it starts to go around and you're like, just kidding, we made it up.
Yeah.
Like, but you actually know they did it. And they're like, yeah, no, it was just some like...
They're totally gaslighting everybody right now.
Well, because the general came in and was like, shut it all down. Stop talking about this.
Yeah, he was like, you guys have been wilding out. You got to calm down.
All right, now we're going to jump ahead. It's 1978, and a now retired Jesse Marcel, the first on the scene, admits to UFO researcher Stanton Friedman that he believes the debris he inspected in Roswell was of extraterrestrial origin. He admitted that the retracted story was a cover-up and that the general told everyone to keep quiet. He would later explain the strange debris as material with plastic properties. Quote, it was possible to flex this stuff back and forth, even to wrinkle it, but you could not put a crease in it that would stay, nor could you dent it. Rancher Mac Brazel, who found the wreckage to begin with, his son echoed Marcel's description. Also, the photo Marcel took for the paper the next morning, like next to the debris.
Yeah.
Well, Walter Holt, former first lieutenant, the public information officer that kind of put out the press release, he was doing all the PR. He would later say that the whole thing was staged, the photo.
Wow.
Like all of that was staged to like bring down the panic.
Interesting. Also, the foldable tinfoil is not how tinfoil works, girl.
Yeah, the fact that you can't crease it. And
that's not tinfoil.
Correct answer. Brazel would later participate in a radio interview where he explained exactly what he saw, which included crash victims. That's right, aliens themselves.
Can I stop you for a sec?
Always go.
I need to like debrief on this really quick. How come if he saw aliens and his original story is he waited 2 days to go give this evidence over?
That's a good point.
What are you doing with the bodies for 2 days?
He just was letting them
He was just like, just hang out, like brush them under the rug. Like that's bizarre to me. Like if you saw alien bodies, wouldn't it be more like, because his original statement was, oh, I didn't know exactly what it was. I wrote it off as a weather balloon. But now you're saying I saw bodies.
Exactly. And that's the thing, like when you start diving into Roswell, especially because we're talking about something that happened not even 50 years ago. I think we're almost coming up on like 100. If not, I think that's a little bit. But like still, tons of time, has passed. And like a lot of the reports kind of start to contradict themselves and whatnot. He claimed that he did see alien bodies. This ties into a story that was told to me when I was in Roswell, which was the military's ask of a local funeral home at the time. Glenn Dennis claims he was asked to make child-sized coffins for alien bodies and also for his advice on how to properly preserve them. He also claimed to know a nurse who was there during an alien autopsy. Witnesses who say they saw the bodies describe the aliens as being 3.5 to 4 feet in height with big heads and large eyes.
First of all, creepy. Second of all, that directly, like we said earlier, directly contradicts the other aliens I've been seeing that are really tall. Unless there's like multiple alien species, which I think people will actually think there are. It is bizarre that they would be asked for child coffins.
Yeah, and I had known the story of Roswell. I'd heard it before, but it wasn't until I went to Roswell where someone told me this fact directly, and I was fascinated. I was like, who's Glenn Dennis? Like, what is this story? Like, what's the goss, kind of?
Yeah.
What is this other component?
Yeah.
And, he was working there at the time and swears that that's kind of what was going on. And I think that's what's really fascinating about Roswell, to remember that it's a small town with not a ton of resources. Like, yes, they had this base, but ultimately it was a really tiny town. A lot of it extended outside of Roswell. Where the crash site is, it's technically outside outside of the town because it's so much ranching land. When we drove there, we were driving on this one street called Main Street. My dad thinks this is hilarious, by the way. We were just driving on this one street forever, like no other cars in sight. It's just land. So if an alien crashes there and you need to figure out the best way to preserve something in the meantime, like you're kind of just working with the local town folk. But like, are you also saying that the whole town's kind of in on the secret? Like, it's fascinating. I don't know.
True that. Interesting.
It's very interesting. Also, fun fact about our stay in Roswell was we stayed, they don't also have a lot of hotels. So we ended up accidentally staying at the same hotel as a lot of the speakers that shared their UFO experiences, like on panels. And my dad would wake up early and he would go down for breakfast just to kind of like walk around the hotel. And he would end up talking to all these people that were panelists for this festival. So we're going to have to get my dad on the pod to explain his experience talking to some of the most like infamous cases. Like, I can't remember his name at the top of my head, but the really famous alien abduction case of the lumberjack that got abducted. Yes. He was one of them, and my dad got to talk to him a couple times. So,
oh my God.
Well, we have to get my dad on the pod for sure. In 1994, the government came out with the Roswell report and admitted that there was a cover-up, just not of the extraterrestrial kind. Have you heard of Project Mogul?
No, tell me.
A top secret project of the Air Force, Project Mogul involved high-altitude balloons with special microphones made to detect sound waves generated by Soviet atomic bomb tests.
Ooh.
Now, unlike a weather balloon, the equipment was oddly shaped and made out of unusual types of materials as they were experimenting with what worked best. The report included the launch records of a balloon that launched June 4th, 1947, they believed to be the one that crashed near Roswell. Also, the alien bodies, their explanation, crash test dummies.
Shut the fuck up.
What's weird, though, was that was technically a whole different experiment, and in the 50s, and they basically were like, oh, people are just remembering wrong. And on top of that, the crash test dummies were 6 feet tall.
Right. Like, who's going to make a 3 foot, 4 foot tall crash test dummy? And why are you going to put it in a balloon? Like, okay.
They're like, that's why you remember alien bodies. You're just remembering it wrong. They were tall and in the 50s. Don't worry about it.
Girl, don't gaslight me like that. I don't like it.
Really though. And I think what's like kind of fun about this is that we have the government basically being like, yeah, we did cover something up, but it obviously wasn't aliens. It was just this other thing. But then it's like, okay, well, now you just opened the door of you admitting that you covered things up. Yes, exactly.
Talk about, like, literally what is with, like, the weather balloons in the sky and cover-ups. Like, there's this whole conspiracy that the weather balloons that just recently happened were a cover-up so we could shoot something out of the sky. And that was of extraterrestrial origin. So it's definitely weird. I haven't looked into it fully, but if you listen to High Strange, which is a different podcast, they, like, get into it on, like, their roundtable discussion. Super interesting. But it is weird how, like, history repeats itself.
It is. And I think something that I love when talking about paranormal or cryptids is that it's really cyclical, like in media. So right now we're kind of, bringing up some fears of nuclear war again. So we're kind of seeing that in media along with aliens again. Like I saw Nope, incredible movie, so good. Yeah. Kiki Palmer is like the most magical human, and she also plays The Sims. So love her. And then I also recently saw Asteroid City again, like just more aliens. Like aliens are just really popular. Like I'm sure we're going to end up with another vampire resurgence at some point, because
that would be something.
Zombies will happen again. It all comes around. But right now, aliens are super hot, and it kind of always plays into this timing. It's really fascinating that like we're getting more alien reports also in real life as more like talks of nuclear weapons come up.
That would relate to people that think that UFOs are a different country, like their intelligence, right? So like, is it China? Is it Russia? That kind of thing. I don't know. Like for me, truthfully, like UFOs, it's hard for me to believe in like actual alien bodies because I do, in my mind, think that it makes more sense for these to be like unmanned drones.
Oh, yeah.
So like they're sending them from their planet of origin and they're coming in and they're remotely controlling them. I think that makes more sense unless there's some type of technology that we don't know about that like preserves their body and these, like the way I've seen them move, a human would not survive.
Oh, absolutely not.
So definitely interesting. I don't think it could be China or Russia. Like they would be trying to hide that thing. Like where we're seeing UFOs nowadays is so like out in the open that I don't think China and Russia would be doing that.
It would be
also,
yeah. But to kind of the point of Roswell too is if we were to believe the Roswell report that came out in 1994, like looking back at that time, like of course the sheriff, the rancher, even probably members of the military probably would not have seen the kind of materials that they were working on at that time. And with that lens, like what does that look like for us in modern day? Like what do they have? What are they actually working on that we have no idea even exists yet? And so that does kind of play into like maybe some of the things we have seen. I don't know. Right. It's just like,
well, then it's like, where do they get this technology? Because there's been this whole thing of, oh, there's like a UFO retrieval program now. And this has been like coming up from people that have high like clearances. And they're saying that like that is something that is a program. Are they getting it from aliens?
And I will say kind of a part of the Roswell, to your point, I didn't include it because there's, again, so much. I highly recommend doing your own deep dive into this if you're listening because there's so much information. But one of the military personnel that was working nearby at one of the places they think they kept all the stuff that came from Roswell, like where they transferred everything, he immediately after seeing everything went to the White House and then came back. Yeah. We know that by the flight records. And then he would later go on to start UFO Exploration Division in like the military. Like he was one of the founding members. I'm missing the name of it. I'm sorry, guys. Again, there's so much information.
There's something spicy there. There's something there.
That's what I'm saying. Everyone has a story. Everyone's connected to Roswell. And as time goes on, there's just so much to dive into. But that's Roswell, baby. Woo.
I loved it. No, thank you. I feel like that has given me so much information.
Oh, yay.
That I didn't even think about. So I appreciate that. I do have a question for you now that we've gotten to the end of the old and the new. So what bucket of alien believer do you fall into? There's, I think, 3 that you can kind of get into. So there's the new alien vibes, right? So like these are people that are like, now that the government's coming out and saying this is a UAP or whatever they're calling it, they're like, yeah, they're just starting to visit us, and that's why we're just starting to get information on it. Are you an Ancient Aliens girly? Which, I mean, judging by the like conventions you've been to, I could see that. I like, for me on Ancient Aliens, I can see a little bit of it, but then I also like just zone out, fall asleep, and I wake up to the guy just being like, aliens.
Shout out Giorgio. We love you.
Hey, Giorgio. You know what, bud? Keep it up, man. I'm like, I'll watch it. So Ancient Aliens, or are we like aliens are the government? Not necessarily like that into it, but do we believe that they've made contact at this point, or just like they've been around for a longer time than like what we're being led on to believe?
Ooh, this is a fun question. It's so funny you say that because I have been to 2 alien cons, and Ancient Aliens is like the primary show that's like featured there, and like Legends of Skinwalker Ranch, like all of that stuff. So I feel like it makes sense that I would fall into that bucket. I think for me, and this might be like an unfun answer, but I'm like painfully practical, and like I think statistically, do I think there's life in the universe besides us? Of course. I just think it'd be ridiculous to think it was only us. But do I think aliens have come in and like helped build the pyramids? No. Like, do I think that they're aliens walking among us? No. Like, you're the one that told me about maybe they would send a drone just to check us out because we don't know. Yeah. I love that idea. Like, I love the idea of them, like, maybe monitoring us. I love the idea of thinking, like, there is a chance that there's smarter life out there besides us. Because I think, again, the ego would be really wild to think that we're just the only ones and we're these brilliant, smart things. But I don't think I would be shocked if there actually is like an Area 51 with all of these alien specimens. I'd be thrilled. I'd want to know everything. I'd be like, tell me everything. But that's kind of where I fall. I fall more so in the I love a good story, and I'm probably a little bit more quick to believe that it's a story. But I'm here. But I love a good story, and like, you know, there's some parts of Roswell where I'm like, could you really get a whole town to like cover something up? Like, or like, could you really get this whole town that experienced it so differently? Like, what does that look like? Is that mass hysteria, or did something really happen? Like, who am I to judge or tell someone what they did or didn't see? So I'm always very like open and interested and into it. But that's where I fall.
Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of similar. Like, there's a lot of woo-woo around it, right? There's a lot of like, some accounts I'm just like, come on. But then I have my own eyewitness accounts where I'm like, I can't discount that. I don't think it's China. I don't think it's Russia. I'm kind of in between of like, I would think that they would probably try to make contact if they're coming that far to Earth. I think there might be something to it. I think there might be some type of form of contact. And I do think like the government probably would not want to come out full swinging, say, hey, we've made contacts with aliens, because that would ruin a lot of religious beliefs. It would just kind of create a lot of drama. So there's some really good stuff out there and really kind of like enthralling evidence that I think would make a lot of people kind of like take a second look and see, hey, maybe there are aliens. So definitely something we want to touch on.
Speaking of
two
like aliens?
They don't like the aliens. If you're not watching this and you're just listening, my dog and my cat are going at it in the background. But that's even more reason to watch on Spotify so you can see the video.
And or if you're from YouTube.
On YouTube. Yep. Or on YouTube.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening to us in our first episode. And we're so excited to bring you along this journey, and send us your favorite stories, whether it's aliens, UFOs, ghosts, cryptids. Send it. We want to hear it. We want to talk about it.
Let us know what you want us to talk about. If you have any eyewitness accounts, let's hear them.
Yeah, we'd love to interview you. Come on the pod.
Yeah, come on the pod.
Bye, guys.
Bye.